Today on Sports Central, we'll be going over an NFL game preview and prediction on one of the big matchups coming up in Week 9 of this 2020 season, and that's going to be between the New Orleans Saints and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And this is going to be a huge matchup that could have some long-term implications, that's for sure. Obviously, the Saints won in Week 1 against the Bucs, but a lot has happened since then. And both teams are coming off of huge winning streaks, and I consider both of these teams to be some of the hottest teams currently in the NFL, let alone in the NFC. So both these teams are looking great right now. And it finally looks like the Buccaneers are starting to click on offense with Tom Brady in there. Meanwhile, for the Saints, I mean, things are looking really good for them after more of a slow start to the season. So, very important game here for both these teams. I'd consider this to be probably your biggest game coming up in Week 9 of this season. And we're going to be going over a full preview on it and predictions, starting out with their team trends. Last week, the Saints beat the Bears 26-23 in overtime and in Chicago. That was a huge win for the Saints. I mean, if you look at both of these teams there, I mean, I think the Bears were leading the NFC North there for a little while, and I'm not sure if they lead it anymore, but Chicago still is definitely looking like a good team. So for the Saints to be able to pull off the win there, especially in overtime in Chicago, yeah, very huge win there for the Saints. Bucs on the other side, they beat the Giants 25-23 in more of a sloppy win. I would not consider that to be a good game for the Bucs. I mean, when you're neck and neck with the Giants team that is easily probably a bottom 3 team in the NFL right now, that is not a good sign of things to come. So for the Buccaneers, I mean, obviously, they've had a couple of good wins over the past couple of weeks, especially in the later parts of October. I mean, they blew out the Packers 30-10, and they blew out the Raiders 45-20. But, I mean, the Giants, they should have beaten the Giants by way more than that. I mean, if we're thinking realistically, if you compare the Giants and the Packers, I mean, the Giants are a way worse team. And so for it to be a close game, a 2-point game against the Giants in comparison to the Packers, obviously they're two different games there. But yeah, the Bucs definitely needed to play better there, and I don't think, I mean, if they play the way that they did against the Giants in this matchup, yeah, I don't think that's going to be a good sign for the Bucs. And also, yeah, once again, the winning streaks for both these teams. New Orleans currently has a 4-game winning streak. They're 5-2. Tampa Bay's got a 3-game winning streak, and they're at 6-2. So looking at the winning streaks for both these teams, the Saints have played a lot of overtime games this season so far. Obviously, they had to play an overtime game back only a couple of weeks ago against the Chargers, which that was also a huge game win. They won that one 30-27. They beat the Bears in overtime 26-23. Beat the Panthers on October 25th, 27-24. And they also beat the Lions by 7 on October 4th, which was the final score of 35-29. So all around, yeah, decent season so far for the Saints. I mean, after a slow start like they had, I mean, they were 1-2 at the beginning of the season. And ever since then, they've really been improving. But I mean, yeah, the Buccaneers at this point in the season, I consider probably be the hottest team in the league. So this is going to be a tough game against the Saints here. Oh yeah, but this game is going to be on Sunday, November 8th, 8:20 p.m. Eastern. So it will be your Sunday night game in Tampa, Florida. Spread currently says Bucs by 4.5. ESPN FPI has got the Bucs 65%, and your Vegas prediction has got the Bucs by 6. 33-27 being the current final score prediction. So the Bucs are favored here in all 3 of our sources by halfway decent amounts. Here's your stat comparison for this game as well. Saints can only have 29 points per game, 28 points allowed. They also have 276 average pass yards, 119 average rush yards. Then for as far as yards allowed, they allow 257 passing and then 90 rushing so far this season on average. For the Buccaneers on the other side, 30 points per game, 20 points allowed, 273 passing yards, 102 rushing yards a game, and then 255 yards allowed for passing, and then 70 rush yards allowed for that side as well. So honestly, both these teams are extremely similar in the stat area. Obviously, the Buccaneers have allowed way less points per game. Obviously, I mean, they got 30 points per game and then 20 points allowed. And in comparison to the Saints, I mean, the Saints only have a 1-point difference there. But as far as it goes for the yards gained and allowed, I mean, they're pretty similar in both areas. I mean, they're within 3 yards for yards passing, within like 17 yards for yards rushing, and for yards allowed, I think it's within only a short amount, within a dozen for yards allowed as well. So both teams are extremely similar there, I would say. Obviously, you got Tom Brady and Drew Brees going head-to-head in this matchup, which 2 of the best quarterbacks of all time going head-to-head is always a great matchup, that is for sure. Some key points for this one, too, are the hottest teams in the NFL right now. There's no doubt about that with the Saints and the Bucs. Obviously, both these teams have got decent winning streaks. So all of that is on the line here in this matchup. One of these teams is going to lose a pretty big winning streak, and it's going to be a huge matchup once again. I mean, you've got 2 teams, especially in the NFC South. I mean, whoever wins that division this season is probably going to be the winner of this game. I mean, we can just be honest here. I mean, the Saints did win the first matchup between both these teams, but if the Saints can pull off a sweep against the Bucs, that is going to be a huge advantage for the Saints moving forward because that puts the Saints ahead of the Bucs 2 games in the NFC South race and in the NFC race in general. So yeah, that's why this is just such an important matchup. I mean, every game that you have in your division is always super important, because obviously you're trying to beat your opponents in the divisions, but also in your conference in general. I mean, it puts you 1 win ahead of a rival in your conference, and obviously you want to be the highest seed remaining. So yeah, for both of these teams, this is just such an important game here in determining who's going to be the better team. But yeah, Saints won back in week 1. We already went over that. Buccaneers have been really good offensively. I mean, it's scary how good the Bucs are looking right now. I mean, Tom Brady and this offense, it looks like they're finally starting to click, which we didn't really see that at the beginning of the season. I mean, you had Tom Brady and you had Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, and it just was kind of an odd fit at first. But I think as the season has gone on, they've really warmed up to each other, and it's looking really good for Tampa Bay right now. Biz defense will win in this matchup is all I'm going to say. I mean, I think this could be an easy shootout. We could easily see a shootout here, which I don't really think that's going to happen. I think we see more of a moderate scoring game, but I've got the Saints pulling off the win here in the end. I think the Saints are going to go into Tampa and pull off a major win against the Bucs in this matchup. And I went back and forth on this several times, believe me there. I mean, I think the probability here is going to be 55% towards the Saints. Like, we could easily see either team win this game, and that's why it's so hard to predict. I mean, you got the Saints on one side with Drew Brees at quarterback, and I mean, honestly, the Saints are looking really good, and the Saints are much more consistent on the offensive side, but obviously they have had a couple of bad games so far this season. But the Bucs on the other end, I mean, once again, if the Bucs play the way that they did last week in this game as well, I don't see the Bucs winning this matchup. I mean, the way that they played against the Giants honestly was sloppy. I mean, they played absolutely terrible against the Giants this past week. So, I mean, if they play the same way there's no way they're winning this game. But I think the Saints are going to get the win in the end. 27-24 will be your final score. But I think at halftime we do see the Bucs lead 17-13. So I think the Bucs control the first half, and the Saints will come back and control the second half. I think the Saints do get the win here in the end, though, with a final score of 27-24. But once again, I could easily see both these teams winning this game. Both teams are equally talented, and both teams have got a lot of potential moving forward. And I think both teams are also looking forward to big playoff seasons. I think both teams should easily be in the playoffs, and we could easily see both these teams having a third matchup this season in the playoffs. So, yeah, that being said, that wraps up my prediction on this game here in this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this game. Let me know your score predictions, all of that down below. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. But once again, thanks again for watching. If you enjoyed this preview, once again, slap a like on it and subscribe as well if you are not already yet. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central, and I'll see you all later.